Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'm going to show you a really cool platform I found that is a self-hosted application. This is called Ntfy or Ntfy. It's a really cool app that I found. I used to use Telegram for a lot of self-hosted alerts, and Telegram works really well, but they unfortunately deleted a lot of my bots recently, and it was kind of annoying because I had to go and re-add them. So I was looking for a self-hosted solution, and that is exactly what I found. This application is really cool. It is essentially a real-time self-hosted notification server, and it's made for notifications. So you can't message it back like you can on Telegram. It is literally designed just for notifications, and I think that's really cool. So if you find their GitHub page, essentially it just walks you through the install. It's pretty simple. It did not take me too long last time. Essentially, there's a couple ways you can do it. I believe you can do it through Docker, Kubernetes. You can even do Homebrew if you're on a Mac. But essentially, if you just add their Debian repository, you can pretty much just download it. All right, so let's take a look here on the VM and see what this looks like. I have created a test VM that is essentially just a pretty low spec VM, which we can see is just about 4 gigs of RAM, 2 cores, very low spec VM, and we're just gonna try this out. So I've been using this for a while in a production environment, but I just want to show you kind of the process of the install. So essentially, we're just following their instructions on their website. It's pretty straightforward, and we're just running a couple commands, and I'm just going to paste the rest of these in because they're pretty simple. So that's pretty much all you got to do. It's pretty much installed now, and now it's just a matter of doing a few more things. So I believe it does run a web server by itself automatically, but you are able to proxy Nginx in front of it, which is really cool as well, because in my setups, I have essentially on all of my locations, I've got a firewall, I've got Nginx, and I've got all my other applications. So Nginx is really just the middleman between everything else. It's really cool. You can load balance it, do all kinds of fun things like that. But I really do like Nginx as well. So anyways, back to the video. So Ntfy, we have that. We did the installation, and now it's just pretty much just editing the configuration file. If we do sudo nano to this file, yeah, so that's what we're going to look for. And now if we connect to my existing Ntfy instance, I can take a look at what I have changed in the config, and we can kind of compare it. First of all, we do have the base URL, which from my understanding is how you get the iOS notifications to work pretty well. So essentially you just need to fill it out kind of like this. So we'll say HTTPS, and then we're going to say notifications, or whatever you want the URL to be, .beamnetworks.dev. So essentially that's pretty much all you have to do for that base URL. It's essentially just setting it up so iOS is going to work the way that it should. iOS notifications are apparently really weird in the sense of how they work, so that's just kind of what you have to do. And then there's also an auth file that I have on here. So right here we have the auth file, and essentially what this is for is you can actually essentially kind of encrypt your notifications to where you have to have a user account to view them. So you can create accounts, and I think this is ideal. That way you cannot just publish your notifications for everyone to see, especially if this is available publicly. You don't want everyone to see your notifications. So that's really cool. So that essentially you just need to add your auth file and just point it to that DB file. I believe it creates it for you, and the default access can just be deny all. So it's going to deny everybody by default unless you want to allow them. Next, we're going to find the behind proxy, which in this case, I'm going to say yes is true. Well, I guess I need to also mark that as true. But this is just telling it, yes, it's going to be behind a proxy. This also kind of helps with notifications and stuff. So I'm going to uncomment the upstream base URL, which this always has to be ntfy.sh. This always has to be their server. This is, again, how they do the iOS notifications. How they get those to work in a timely fashion. So we'll save that, and then next we're going to do sudo systemctl restart ntfy, and then now I'm going to go up into my Cloudflare, which is my DNS manager. So if you've never self-hosted an application before, there's a lot of ways you can do it, but in this case I have a public-facing DNS record that I'm going to add to my domain. And basically with that, I'm going to create a URL that we can access. It's going to be notifications.beamnetworks.dev. That's going to point straight to my Ntfy server, and it's very easy to do so. So I'm going to add this really quick. All right, so right here is essentially my Nginx configuration for port 80. So SSL is going to be pretty much the same, but Essentially, I'm just allowing Cloudflare's IPs. I IP whitelist because I don't want people accessing my applications directly. And then we're going to forward this over to some different location things. This is all kind of Ntfy's recommendation on how to do notifications. And then basically, we just have some proxy stuff down here. So all that to say, we can close out of that and I can open up Chrome and we can pull up a window here. And of course, we are getting an invalid SSL certificate, but that's not a big deal. We can figure that out later. But what we can do is load up Ntfy directly. So the notifications are not supported. You can only do that over HTTPS, which is another benefit of proxying it. If you go to settings here, you can change your notification sound. This is pretty much just for that web session. Under all notifications, you can kind of see all notifications. You can publish notifications here with the URL, the topic name, title, and message. This is kind of like MQTT in the sense that there's topics and you can publish to a topic. There's tags, there's priorities. So let's say you want to do like uptime monitoring, you could do high priority alerts, or you could do low or minimum priority alerts. You can also add emails, URLs, or whatever, delay delivery, all kinds of really cool stuff like that. So that's essentially the notification aspect of things. Let's add a user. So there's a lot of ways you can add users. There's different roles as well. You could do a user or an admin. But essentially, if we do Ntfy user list, we'll see it does not exist. Okay, so at this point, if we want to add a user, we just need to run sudo Ntfy user add Beam Networks. It'll ask for a password, and it said user added with role user. So it's pretty easy to add the users, obviously. One thing I do want to show you though is if we pull up this page, you'll see we have a lot of the example commands. Now, I did use sudo because the database file was in a restricted directory. Okay, so we will come back as soon as I have this done. I'm going to proxy it correctly, and then we'll come back and we'll test the notifications. All right, so sorry for the interruption there. We are back now, and now I can show you what the notifications look like. I had to go this morning, but we're back. Okay, so I do want to stop right here and let's take a quick note here. So basically, we were having an issue with the notifications not sending. I was trying to do a demo where I sent the notifications through the web portal, but that was not working because we actually did not give the user permissions in the previous clip. So right here, you can see there's just a command you need to run. You can find this on their documentation online. You got to run this command to essentially just give your user the permission to send the notifications. By default, the user does not have any permissions, or I guess enough permissions to send a notification. All right, so now that we fixed the issue, the user had no permission, so basically I just had to give sudo notify user change role Beam Networks admin. That's just a command, like I said, on their website. You can find all those commands on their website. But if we subscribe to the topic, we're going to subscribe to the test topic. Just that way it's going to watch for that. And actually, you'll see we do have the test notification that is popping up there. So now I do want to publish one, and we'll click send. So instantly after I click send, it did pop up. You can see we have a title, we have a text, timestamp. If we click the checkbox, we can mark it as red, and then we can delete it from here as well. One element I didn't really touch on much in this clip so far is the way to use this through a service. So if you're programming this into a service, you can use curl to send these commands. When you add authentication, it gets a little more difficult just because of how it works. You have to add these as headers through curl to get the authentication to authenticate you basically, but it's just like a normal API pretty much. And I think it's really easy to use, really great way to use Ntfy in your existing applications, and it makes it a really versatile product to use. Ntfy is really nice, real-time alerts. Basically, if you do want to set up the mobile app, it's just the same thing. Add your server, add your user, add a password, and you're good to go. You can watch for any topics that you want. You do have to subscribe to a topic. I don't think you can subscribe to everything. So you just want to subscribe to your individual topics, but it's fine. Not too hard, pretty straightforward. I love Ntfy. It's a lot better than Telegram, and they're not going to delete my bots. So that's what matters most to me. So thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. I will see you all in the next video. Hopefully, we'll talk about the Ntfy EV station. Really excited for that one. Stay tuned. See you guys later.